Tommy Robinson part of it, I can't help thinking it's yet another deflection. Tommy Robinson is a man from a working class background in Luton. There are many things to be said in favour of him and what he's done. There's many things to be said criticising some of his tactics and some of his words and much more. But essentially, he is one of a quite large number, actually, not to be underestimated, a large number of working class people in this country who saw this happen to relatives of theirs, who had girls in their families who
I think a cousin of Tommy Robinson, this happened to her.
were drugged and raped by Muslim gangs. And when they went to the police, they didn't get any help. When they went to the council, they didn't get any help. When they went to their MPs, generally they didn't get any help. If they organised a protest movement, so-called anti-fascist groups would immediately say, far right, because of course, if you're working class in our country and you don't like the mass rape of young white girls, you're of course necessarily must be a Nazi. All of this was done to make it utterly impossible for anybody to discuss this, and particularly to crack down as hard as possible on anyone who was white and working class and felt voiceless. And instead of giving these people any sympathy or any hearing, most of the media, most of the political class turned away. And I'm afraid what we've been seeing in recent days is one perfectly predictable repercussion of that. You can keep a scandal this big down for only so long. And of course, there are Labour MPs and others at the moment who are saying, but don't you know we've had lots of inquiries into this? Don't you know lots of people have gone to jail? And there is some truth in that. First of all, the inquiries meant very little in the end. They did very little to sort out this problem. Secondly, the number of accusations of rapes, the number of girls in all of these towns who say they've been raped, means that the proportion of men who have actually been convicted, often already released, but convicted and went to prison, can only be a fraction of the number of people who actually took part in this obscene sexual crime. And so this sort of idea of like, it's okay, guys, we've got it. It's total bunk. And, I think that part of the thing we've seen in recent days is very reminiscent, and I've written about this again in the past, it's very reminiscent of something that Britain is astonishingly good at, which is avoiding primary problems by trying to highlight people who, as it were, who mention the problem or mention the problem in an inadequate way or in a way that isn't to everyone's taste or more, and then everyone talks about them, and it's horribly reminiscent of the way in which you'll remember that for about some 40 years or so, it was said in Britain that we couldn't discuss mass immigration, legal or illegal, in Britain because Enoch Powell gave one speech in 1968. And actually all it was a terrific way for the political class and others to avoid talking about mass migration. They say, Enoch made it impossible. And it's awfully reminiscent, this. People saying, Tommy Robinson made it impossible. That's absolute nonsense. If you have a courageous media, if you have just independent-minded people, if you have councillors who know how to do their darn job and policemen who are not, as the reports and commissions found out, incredibly scared of being accused of institutional racism, which of course has been hanging over the police force for some 40 years now, 30 years certainly. If all these people have been doing their jobs, it wouldn't matter what Tommy Robinson had or had not said. All of this is a deflection. It's always this way. Let's leap at one of the people who has responded to this and say they did it wrong, and then we can keep on not addressing the question. And I think this is a uniquely British vice.